What's going on, golf addicts? It is Tour Junkies After Dark presented by DraftKings. And let me just tell you, this is going to be a phenomenal show. Now, if you don't have any idea who we are, I understand. I'm David Barnett. This other lovely round face beside me is Mr. Pat Perry. We make up the Tour Junkies. We've been doing this a few years now. Getting into the PGA Tour, DFS, and golf betting side of things. Really excited to be here with DraftKings doing a little Tour Junkies After Dark, Pat. And, what's exciting about this is we do a podcast every week previewing the PGA Tour. We do not talk about anything on the podcast beforehand so that the whole conversation is organic, it's natural, we're having a good time, you get immediate reactions. And here's what we're going to do, is every week after the podcast is over, we are going to sit here, turn our cameras on, expose ourselves to DraftKings and say, now that we've just recorded the podcast, we have reactions, right?
I don't know if I think you're scaring the listeners and the viewers a little bit with exposing ourselves. You know, we're used to talking not in front of the camera. And so, I don't know, let's get started off on the right foot here. We're not going to be exposing anything other than maybe our ridiculous minds.
Maybe just bad takes. We're gonna expose those.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm saying like we're gonna let the folks in a little bit, and we're gonna talk about things that you just said on the podcast I disagree with. You're gonna hit me with some things I just said on the podcast that you disagree with, and we're gonna have a little fun. It's Tour Junkies After Dark. Like we're recording this, we're relaxed. We've had a little podcast juice that we can't say any names. No free ads here on DraftKings. But we're gonna just talk some golf tonight. We're gonna do this every week. We're gonna tell you a little bit about the golf course that they're playing, some key stats that you need to know, some strategy conversation, and we're not only gonna hit DFS from a DraftKings perspective, but we're also gonna talk just straight up just the sportsbook aspect of DraftKings, which is fantastic. And it's all about the PGA Tour. It's all about golf, which is what we love. Now, we're born and raised in Augusta, Georgia, myself and Pat. We are diehard golf addicts, and we hope and trust that you are too. And if you're not, we hope we make you one before this video is over. So, Pat, I think that's a little bit about us. Do you have anything you want to add, or anything else you think the listeners should expect or know maybe about us before we get into this?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Every week, if you listen to the podcast, we just like to have a good time, and we're definitely going to do that on this show. You're going to see our personalities come out probably a little bit more on this show, as it's TJ After Dark. So, as you said, we've had a few cocktails, but we're going to have a good time with it. Looking forward to this throughout the year, and ready to go. We got Tiger back this week for the Farmers Insurance Open, so this is the event right now. This is probably the biggest event we've had to start the year.
Pat, give me your best Tiger roar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was lame. That was really bad.
Well, what do you got? What do you got?
That's embarrassing. I would never do that on internet TV shows.
So you just baited me into that one?
Yeah, let's do this. All right, we're going to give you a quick course rundown. We're not going to really go too deep into this. We don't want to bore you, okay? We're going to tell you some just quick hits about the golf course. Pat this is basically his one Tour Junkies responsibility for the entire week, is he is in charge of telling people about the golf course, and then he basically does nothing. So, Pat, why don't you give us just a brief rundown on the course and what's important to know going into this week?
Yeah, so this week at the Farmers Insurance Open, we're playing on two courses, and they are fantastic courses. You've got the Torrey Pines South course, which is the host course for the week, and then also the North course. Here's what you got to know as far as the South course is concerned. We're going to get 3 days on this course. So you will play either Thursday or Friday here. And then if you make the cut, you're going to play Saturday and Sunday on this course. It typically plays as one of the hardest courses on tour. It is a major championship style venue, and it is extremely long at 7,700 yards. It is the longest regular rotation course as far as the PGA Tour is concerned. So you have got to be a bomber to usually play well here. Also, it's a par 72, so you're going to get 4 par 5s here, so you can score on those par 5s, but they're pretty difficult. Going over to the North course, it's going to be the scoring course. It's going to be the one where these guys are going to be able to have some birdies. All par fives are reachable. You even got a reachable par four, 7th hole out here. So that is where you're going to target guys. If you're looking at maybe first round leader bets, you want to look at those guys on that North course. But when it comes down to it, it's going to be difficult. You've got to look at the Bombers here with the South course being as long as it is. You've got small greens here, so you want to look at your ball strikers, your guys that are hitting greens in regulation, those type things. But here's the thing. This is a course where you just can't get too cute on. I mean, you really got to look at your guys when you're looking at stats and everything like that. You just can't be taking a bunch of flyers. It's a very difficult course. You want experienced guys who know how to play the difficult courses on tour.
You know, Pat, one thing you didn't mention is the green surfaces that are on these golf courses. Now, when we first started the Tour Junkies 3.5 years ago, you can go back and listen on the archives. Pat pronounced the grass type on these green surfaces as a little something called Poa annua, which is actually pronounced poana, which is a type of grass or weed, if you will. And that is very interesting to note because you find it a lot on the West Coast, and it can be bumpy and unpredictable kind of grass surfaces on these greens, so something to think about. For me, it kind of means that putting is not as important, so I don't really get bogged down in the putting stats for the week. But I just, I want Pat to make sure he gets every opportunity to redeem himself from pronouncing Poana as Poa annua a few years ago.
Yeah, well, and also you got to know, on the North course, they changed out of Poana in 2016, or after a 2016 remodel. And so now there's bent grass greens on the North course. So if you want to look at surfaces there, it's a little bit different than the South course.
So key stats for me, definitely looking at ball striking. So looking at guys who bomb it off the tee, like Pat said, guys who score DraftKings points. We know that DraftKings rewards birdies and eagles, guys who score, guys who get hot. That is where your points, that is where your bread is buttered, okay? That is where your bread is buttered. So get guys who are aggressive, get guys who can score. The Bombers prevail. As indicated by your previous winners here, guys like John Rahm, Jason Day. Brant Snedeker, who's we like to call a short knocker, he won here in 2016, but it was kind of an anomaly. The weather was weird. The wind was weird. The weather looks fantastic this week, so don't think it's going to play much of a factor. Let's just get aggressive with it. Let's get physical. You know what I mean? Let's just get physical with Torrey Pines. Now, Pat, I want to talk about a few picks. This is the part where we kind of start calling each other out. We talked about this on the podcast. You gave a few names that I just disagree with, and I'm going to pull up some numbers here. I asked you to give me some names in GPPs that you liked up in the top tier on DraftKings, $9K and above. And right there at $9,300, you gave me Mr. Farmer's Insurance himself, Ricky Fowler. Now, when he's not shooting commercials or, maybe possibly shacking up with a pole vaulter, he's barely making cuts at the Farmer's Insurance. That's what the crap he's doing. Ricky should suit this golf course. I hear you. You can give me all the stats. But Ricky's performance here historically has been dreadful. And I think some of it may be the sponsorship liabilities. Like when the tournament is Farmer's Insurance and your, Farmer's Insurance cuts you a big check, they've seen a thing or two, they cut a few big checks to Ricky every year. I think something happens. Like, I don't know if he has too many responsibilities, but his recent history here is absolutely awful. He's made one cut in the last 5 years at Torrey Pines, and that was in 2015, and he finished 61st. So if you're going to pay up for Ricky Fowler at $9,300, you got to give me something on Ricky. And I don't know what it is you can give me. So can you defend yourself at all on the Ricky Fowler play?
Well, I mean, come on now. Let's go back to how you started this with the whole
about the pole
sponsorship. The sponsorship thing. Who cares about that? Look, the guy's a professional. He's going to go into any tournament. It doesn't matter what kind of, sponsorship events he's got to go to and whatever else. He's going to, I don't really, that's the narrative that you would do just like this is something like, that if you're not a listener, this is something David would bring out all the time. Like some sort of just narrative like the sponsorship's like going to take away his time. He's not going to prepare properly. I'm not going to buy that. But look,
do you think the sponsors are asking freaking Adam Svensson to show up at their banquet on Tuesday night?
No, but look, it's Ricky Fowler. He's in the spotlight every single week. You think 1 week where Farmers Insurance, just because he does commercials for him, is going to just make him play worse? I mean,
he sucks here. He sucks here.
Well, he does. But here's the thing. Look, and that's even more reason I think to play him. You're going to get lower ownership. And now, look, Ricky's a popular guy, but when you look at this course, he really hasn't fared well here. But he should. And you know what? I want to be on him when he does finally pop, which I think is going to be this week. He's playing a new ball, this TaylorMade TP5X. No free ads, but I just did it anyway. But he's playing that new TaylorMade ball. And you look at stats, I mean, opportunities gained, which is a scoring stat that we like. He checks the box there. Also looking at, greens in regulation, strokes gained approach. This is a course where he should play well on. And I just think I'm going to get him this week with low ownership at that $9,300 price tag. I think he's going to pop. I think he's going to play well. And he's finally not only going to make a cut, but he's going to contend come Sunday. Here's another thing. I also like how the weather's shaping up for him. I think, now he does play well. When you look at British Open type courses, he plays well in the weather a little bit. But I think he just hasn't had the right year here. And this is going to be it in 2019 for Ricky Fowler.
He just needs the right temperature, the right dew point, right, to really succeed.
We're going to be in the 70s, perfect type weather.
Yeah, barometric pressure has a lot to do with picking guys on DraftKings, I guess.
Exactly.
That's stupid. I think the low ownership is also a farce because Ricky is never low owned. People love freaking Ricky Fowler. They just love the guy. So it's really hard for me.
Tiger's in the field. Tiger's going to draw some of that ownership.
Well, you get 6 roster spots on DraftKings. Like people can work in Tiger and Ricky, and I got some duds down at the bottom. If you listen to the podcast, you can get them. Like you can fit these guys in. So I think if your only reason for playing Ricky Fowler is ownership, that's a poor move. I'm not sold.
That wasn't my only reason because
you lost. You just lost this argument. All right.
You even said on the pod that you thought this was a course that he should play well on.
I do think he should play well, but the fact is he hasn't. All right, I'm going to tell you the next guy that I don't like of yours. This is going to be a Pat bashing episode 1. You mentioned on the podcast at $8,900 that you like Mr. Jordan. I have the freaking yips Spieth. At $8,900 on DraftKings, something is wrong with Jordan Spieth. I don't know if he has... if he suddenly developed some sort of twitch or something is going on. But not to mention that his recent play is pretty poor. Okay, he also has chosen not to play Torrey Pines the last 3 years. The last time we saw Jordan Spieth here was in 2015 where he missed the cut. Okay, he played here in 2014. He finished tied for 19th. Great. Well, the last 3 years he said, you know what? I think I'll leave Torrey Pines off the rotation. You know why? Because I have to hit the ball a freaking mile, and I'm Jordan Spieth, and I don't do that. So why would he play here? Well, he's playing here because he knows he's rusty AF. He showed it at the Sony at Wiley last week. So to me, this is again, will Jordan make the cut? Maybe. But at $8,900 on DraftKings, I don't need him to make the cut. I need him to do more than that. And I don't see him even coming, I don't even see a top 25 in the upside for Jordan right now. I think you got this one wrong again. Try to sell me.
So now here we go again. This is DB playing the safe card as he always does. And this is what we see on the podcast. If you look through just time after time again, always plays the safe guys. He doesn't want to put himself out there too much. When he's looking at his fades or his plays of the week, it's always the guys that just immediately pop to you. But you know what? Spieth, I don't care where he's popping as far as stats or anything is concerned. You're getting a guy that's a top player in the world at $8,900 on DraftKings. He's a guy that is going to allow you.
Was a top player in the world.
He still is. If you want to play him, you can also fit. This is a perfect guy for a studs and duds type lineup. You're going to be able to fit those higher price guys in there. Get a guy like Jordan who is coming around. You know what? You talked about the Sony Open. Everybody's pointing to that first round, which was Thursday, when everybody wanted to look at what he was doing. That's where the microscope was.
Yeah, he was shaking. His hands were shaking.
No.
He looked like he was terrified. He looked like me playing in front of the PGA Tour.
Go to Friday, where he played much better, had a 68, missed a cut by one, but there was a lot of promising things. If you looked at I watched that entire round, and he played really well. He was good off the tee. He was great with his approach game. Yeah, the putting was not quite there, but
are you off on Fridays? How did you watch that? You're off on Fridays? You don't work? What do you do?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's something like PGA Tour Live. I can work and I can multitask.
I'm just trying to get you off your game.
I think you got it. He's a guy that you just got to play if you want to take a little bit of risk this week. And he's nobody's going to be on him. Everybody's hating on him. Talking heads like you. I'm not a talking head. I'm just a normal guy that's looking at a good player. I don't know. You got to look at him and see him for what he is. And he's a top 10 player in the world. You're getting him at 8,900. I want to be on him when he does pop, and I think he's going to have a great year, by the way. So I'm going to play him this week.
You just want to be on him. That's all I heard. All right, well, I've given you two guys that I hate. I think it's time for you to, I don't know why you would hate any of my picks, but apparently I think there's probably a couple, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, here's the thing with you. You always think all your picks are fantastic and they're great, and you have all these fancy words that you want to talk about when it comes to these guys. But one of the guys that I'm interested in that I just don't see playing this week is Cameron Champ. A guy who's never been here before. I know he's very popular. I know he bombs it off the tee. But I don't like rookies on extremely hard courses. I think you got to be experienced. I think you've got to have, you've got to have played a lot of tour events, been in a lot of situations where you've got guys in the field like Tiger, Jason Day, John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth. Those type guys. So I think he's going to be a little bit intimidated. I will say I don't like the price at 8,500. That might be okay, but still, I need you to defend some Cam Champ this week because I'm scared of him. I just don't think he can play him.
Pat, let me ask you a question. What were you doing in June of 2017? What were you doing? Do you remember? Any major things going on in your life in June of 2017?
Well, let's see. Well, my wife's birthday and our anniversary are in June of 2017.
So you're probably going through some sort of dry spell, potentially.
Oh, wow. We're going to bring up the dry spell on the first episode of TJ After Dark.
The truth hurts. But here's what Cam Champ was doing. He was playing a difficult golf course as not even a rookie. He was playing the freaking U.S. Open in June of 2017, where he finished tied for 32nd. This kid is freaking different, okay? He is different.
Oh, wait a second. Was that Aaron Hills? The most just ridiculous U.S. Open course we've had?
Hey, ridiculously difficult is what it was.
No, it wasn't. Brooks Koepka was like 20 under in that event. All it did was bombers. And I know this course is bombers, but this is a way different animal than freaking Aaron Hills.
Okay, I'm telling you, a 21-year-old finished 32nd at the U.S. Open in his very first PGA Tour start. I don't care that he's not played Tory officially. He's also a California kid, grew up in California, lives in Texas now, went to college at A&M, but he's familiar with California, he's familiar with Poana. He is a bomber. He loves being aggressive and just absolutely obliterating the golf ball down the fairway, which is what you do at Torrey Pines. You've already mentioned that. He's aggressive. He's a scorer. I freaking love it. Now, we last saw him at the Sony, which I know you brought up, where he didn't finish very well. He finished like DFL at the Sony.
Yeah, but I'll have to say this. That wasn't the type course for him.
That is not the course for him. 11th at the Tournament of Champions, which was his first time seeing Kapalua, okay? And he's playing the Tournament of Champions as a rookie. 6th at the RSM, 10th at the OHL. This kid is unreal. He is the real deal. And we saw him at a much higher price on DraftKings than we're getting him now at 8,500. I love the upside. I love the scoring potential for Cam Champ and the distance. I want all the Cam Champ. I can't do anything about it. You got to give me somebody else.
So is he the new man crush for you? Is Brooks Koepka going to be jealous of Cam Champ?
Absolutely not. I mean, Brooks Koepka's way better looking than Cam Champ. I mean, just from, Cam Champ's a great young kid, but Brooks is he's just a stud.
He's a man diamond.
But Cam Champ does swing the wand rather hard. You got anybody else that you don't really like, Pat?
Not a big fan of Keegan Bradley. He's a guy that I feel like is just everybody wants to talk to him about him every single week. He's the easy guy. I mean, look, he pops.
I'm sorry, what? Keegan is never easy. Keegan is never easy.
No, he's never easy as far as the tournament itself is concerned, but as far as popping every week and guys that just seem to always sort of float to the top of somebody that you want to play, it's always Keegan Bradley. He's an easy call, and I don't like him at all. I want to hear your reasons for playing him.
Keegan is scary, man. There is nothing easy about Keegan Bradley. I will give you that. He is an easy fade week in and week out because he's so erratic. But I think that we saw a little better Keegan Bradley in 2018. And, he plays Torrey Pines pretty well. In his last 2 starts at Torrey, he finished tied for 5th last year, finished 4th in 2017. He's only got 1 missed cut in his last 5 attempts here at Torrey Pines. We last saw him at the Sony, at Waialae, at a course where he can't really use the length to his advantage. He finished 29th. That's not terrible for Keegan. Now, he did almost finish DFL as the Tournament of Champions, but that's his first tournament back. I'm not really too concerned. But for me, he checks the box in DraftKings points scored. He's aggressive. He hits the ball a long way off the tee. He's a ball striker. I just think at 8,300, we're talking GPP plays, all right? You will be hard-pressed to hear me ever say on Tour Junkies After Dark, unless I've had a lot of whatever unnamed beverage is in this cup, that you should ever play Keegan Bradley in cash, okay? I'm talking GPPs, because he's a scary MFer to play in GPPs. So, if that's all I'm saying. Like, for the upside at a course where he can use his length to an advantage and he can score DraftKings points at $8,300, which is the average price on DraftKings, I will take Keegan Bradley. That's all I'm going to say. Did I convince you of either one of those boys?
Not really. Maybe Keegan a little bit, but I'm still going to stay away from Cam this week.
All right, I got to give you, before we talk, I want to talk a little bit about the odds, about the DraftKings odds on their sportsbook. But before we do that, I do have one more player that I need you to defend. Because I just think I think if people listen to the podcast, I don't want them to be steered the wrong way. And so I want them to know the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And why
do you think I'm going to steer them the wrong way? I mean, I've been doing this for 3 years now.
You joke about my love affair with Brooks Koepka. The fact is you have a love affair with a chubby boy from Kentucky who you like to call J.B. Holmes. Now, you're so redneck that Holmes comes out Holmes, like Sherlock Holmes, all right? So you say J.B. Holmes, and you mentioned him on the show earlier tonight at whatever price he is, it doesn't matter, $7,900 on DraftKings. And here's why you did it. You're going to go, oh, his course history is amazing. But at the end of the day, J.B. Holmes is a erratic, slow-playing, volatile, chubby kid from Kentucky. And I just think you should fade him. And we haven't seen him play since Mexico in October. We haven't seen him play. Historically, guys do better here when they've at least played the Desert Classic before or one of the Hawaii events. Here's our first time seeing JB, and I got a feeling he's going to be spraying it all over the yard at Torrey Pines. Yes, he can hit it a long way, but he has no idea where it's going, and I just don't like him. So there you
go. Erratic, fat,
chubby,
hasn't played in a while.
Husky.
These are all reasons you're giving not to play JB Holmes.
Very, very calculated.
He hasn't played in a while. Okay, so he's played here at least 5 or 6 years in a row. He's finished 4th, 33rd, tied for 6th, tied for 2nd, T23. So nothing worse than 33rd out here. But he's not ready to play just because he hasn't played this year. I don't get that at all. And you haven't given me any reasons other than how he looks and whatever else. I mean, look, this is a guy. I'm a huge course history guy, and if you want one that this week, it's going to be J.B. Holmes. I mean, 7,900. He's gained 43 strokes on the field in his last 5 events here. He's a bomber. We all know that. If you don't know J.B. Holmes is a bomber, he is. I mean, it's just standard for him.
He is.
He loves this course. So I think he's a great play at 7,900. I'm fine with that. I don't see how you can't just throw all these narratives that don't mean anything, like his weight and whatever else, and saying that he's going to be erratic, because I don't care. I think that if you're the history doesn't lie for a guy like this, and I think, as a matter of fact, because he hasn't played lately, that's a good thing. You know, we're going to get a guy that is not top of mind, a guy we haven't seen this year. And who knows? I haven't looked it up, but I don't know. Maybe this is the first tournament he plays every year. And then here he is having great course history. So that would be something to find out, actually. I would like to know that. But again, I think he's a great play. I think I would play him in cash or your GPP.
Yeah. I can't get into the cash thing. I cannot play a guy who we haven't seen since October in cash on DraftKings.
So you look at a guy like Charles Howell, another guy who has great course history, more expensive, everything else. You're going to play him in cash, but you wouldn't play a guy like J.B. Holmes for $1,000 cheaper.
Yeah, completely different. Charles Howell's
only because you've seen Charles recently, not for any other reason than the fact that you've seen Charles recently.
No, he's also, in his career, been way less erratic as J.B. Holmes. I mean, thus earning $38 million in total tour earnings.
Erratic in general, but not on this course.
Okay.
You're talking about Charles is the PGA Tour ATM machine. I mean, the guy absolutely just prints money.
All right, here's what I'll say. I'm somewhat okay with the J.B. Holmes thing. If his ownership on DraftKings is projected sub 10%, if he's projected sub 10%, sub 8 maybe, I would sprinkle a few shares in DraftKings tournaments on J.B. Holmes for that. On J.B. Holmes for that reason.
J.B. Holmes.
Of the 3 that I went after you on, he would be the only one I feel like I could possibly come around on. So there you go. There's some disagreement for it. Let's wrap up, Pat, and talk a little bit about some sportsbook odds over on DK Sportsbook. Here's what I'll tell you. You guys need to know this about myself, and probably I would say this is probably true about Pat as well. I like the long shots in golf, right? Like, here's the deal in golf. In golf, it's such a variable game. It's different than football. It's different than basketball. In basketball, every night, Greg Harden's going to score 35 points or more. Like, it's just going to happen. Tom Brady's going to have a great game in the playoffs.
Who was Greg Harden?
What?
Did you say Greg Harden? You mean James Harden?
Sorry, James Harden.
Who the hell is Greg Harden?
It's Tour Junkies
you're a golf
After Dark.
Guy. That sounds like a golf guy.
That
sounds like a senior tour player.
You know what? I think I know Greg Harden. I think I went to high school with Greg Harden. Anyway, James Harden, Steph Curry. You know those guys are going to do their thing week in and week out. Antonio Brown's going to have 5 catches a game in PPR formats like on DraftKings. You just know it's going to happen. In golf, even the best players in the world, even the best players have down weeks because it is so variable. We just saw it on Sunday. A guy named Adam Long, who sounds like he could be your history professor, won in the final round against Phil Mickelson and Adam Hadwin on Sunday out of nowhere. He was like -1% owned on DraftKings, and he won. This is golf. So it is a really tough thing to predict. And so for that reason, if I'm betting and I'm going to bet on some outright winner odds, I don't really like betting your 12-1 guys, your 15-1 guys, your 20-1 guys. I like betting the long shots. Pat knows this about me. You hit 1 a year, you hit 2 a year, and you are made. I have a few in-between guys in here, but I've got a few plays in here, Pat, that I like over on DraftKings. And I'm going to start with the shortest odds that I'll play this week, and that is Gary Woodland at 25-1. Big hitting Gary. We last saw him at the Sony Open. He MDF'd. He finished basically 80th place. Didn't play very well, but he's got a great history at Torrey Pines. He's a bomber. He's aggressive. His short game has improved. We've seen a really solid Gary Woodland here lately. Very close to winning, and I feel like Torrey Pines is a great spot for him. So at 25-1, he's about the shortest odds I really like. Throwing some dollars on DraftKings Sportsbook and seeing what you get out of Gary. Who's your shortest odds guy? Who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to go a little shorter than you did. I like Tony Finau at 18-1. I think that's I'm okay with putting.
I can get on that.
I'm okay with putting some dollars on him at 18-1. I mean, he's a guy that this is a great course fit for him. He's played good here in the past, so I think Finau is someone that you definitely got to look at from a gambling standpoint.
All right, give me another one. You got another one?
That's it for me on the shortest guys.
Okay.
Now, I do like some Abraham Answer at 50-1. So if we're going more mid-range, he's a guy that we both talked about on the podcast. I think is one of the next stars in this game. Checks all the boxes here as far as the stats are concerned on this course. So I think Answer at 50-1 is great value here in the sportsbook.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind the Answer play at all. I'm going to go deeper. I'm going to go to a guy who I absolutely freaking love. In fact, we had a question on the Tour Junkies podcast tonight that said if you could play one guy all year long, you had to play him in every lineup on DraftKings, who would it be? And this guy is at 90-1 for the Farmers Insurance Open. His name is Keith Mitchell. He is a rookie he was a rookie last year on the PGA Tour. Second-year guy now, hails out of the University of Georgia, which if you hadn't already figured that out, me and Pat are both rednecks from Georgia. We love the dogs. Keith Mitchell is a bomber. He is highly aggressive, scores a lot of DraftKings points, gets super hot when he's on, and I love him at 90-1. He's come very close to winning a few PGA Tour events, including 2 weeks ago at the Sony in the final group on Sunday, and just completely the bed on the putting green. Could not hole a putt. But he's a bomber. I love Keith Mitchell at 90-1. As long as he stays long odds like that all year, I will be riding that all year long. Love some Keith Mitchell. I got one more. Actually, I got two more. What do you got? You got any more?
I got two more also.
Okay, who you got? Hit me. All
right, two guys that I really like here. Long shots. Jason Kokrak at 90-1. And then also Harold Varner III at 100-1. Harold Varner I'll start with. He played really well last week. The guy's a scorer. I think he's coming around. Look, he is going to win on tour at some point. And you know what? I think you can put a few dollars on him at that 100-1 price point.
I'm sorry, did you just say at thumb point?
Yeah, I think I said some point.
Oh, maybe I misheard.
It's a thumb point.
That was either your tongue or my ears. Is TJ After Dark? I thought you might have said thumb point.
Well, it could have happened, but
okay, just checking.
But HV3, look, he's a guy that he's missed the last couple cuts here, but his first time out, he finished T31. I love how he played last week. I think he can score. Should take advantage of these par fives here, so I like him at 100-1. And then looking at Jason Kokrak at 90-1, had a sneaky good finish last week in the top 20. A bomber, a guy that can score. So I like some Kokrak there at 90-1.
All right, I'm going to give you two more super long. 125-1, Beau Hossler. Winner on the PGA Tour already at a young age. Texas Longhorn boy. But Beau Hossler has some experience playing Torrey Pines. He played at in a Junior World Am a number of years. Has some experience at Torrey Pines. Feels comfortable at Torrey Pines. If he gets hot at 125-1, I think he's worth a little sprinkle over on DK Sportsbook. And then finally, the last pick of the night, which I got to be honest, like we're doing this for DraftKings, and I feel like I feel torn. I feel like I'm obligated to the people, and I'm also obligated to DK a little bit. DK has Trey Mullinax at 350-1.
That's ridiculous.
350-1. I just want to say, whoever's making the odds at DraftKings Sportsbook at 350-1 for Trey Mullinax needs to be careful, because I think that is a steal of a bet. Trey Mullinax is a second-year player on tour. He came out of the web.com as one of the top 5 players, top 5 money winners 2 years ago. Big-time bomber, big-time scorer, very aggressive, played well last week. We know his coach personally. He's got a great coach who coaches a lot of some of the best players on tour in Scott Hamilton. Trey Mullinax is a real talent. He's come close. He's lost in playoffs on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, this guy was he played great last year. Should have won. He is 350.
Like I said, lost in a playoff a couple times, or at least once last year. Trey Mullinax at 350-1 on a course where bombers have a major advantage. He's one of the longest hitters on the PGA Tour that you may have not heard of. 350-1, I'm just saying, like, that's a long shot, but you throw a unit on that, and you're a happy camper come Sunday evening. So there you go. That's all I got. Pat, you got anything else to add for the Farmers Insurance Open?
No, I'm excited for this week. Again, we've got Tiger. We didn't really talk about Tiger too much, but this is it's going to be an exciting week. So let's go.
I mean, Tiger's odds are always a little too short for my liking because he's Tiger. If you want to play him in DFS on DraftKings, I think that makes a lot of sense. He loves Torrey Pines. He owns Torrey Pines. I mean, they might as well
He won here on one leg.
He won here on one leg. Like, the guy literally owns Torrey Pines. So if you want to play him in DraftKings, be my guest. I would check the ownership projections, and in GPPs, if you're going to play him, maybe be a little overweight on him. If you want to roll with him in cash, I think that's probably a safe bet too on DraftKings. So there you go. I like it. First episode of Tour Junkies After Dark in the books. We will be here every week as long as we don't get canned. All right. May your screens be green is what we like to say with the Tour Junkies. DB, Pat Perry, see ya.